But Move On was very helpful in stopping the bombing of Syria. It wasn't just us on Independence Avenue or in front of the White House. So we really need to drop the flags. We need to all unite, because my fear is that if the days start, we hear the rhetoric mounting and mounting and mounting, and we don't accept everyone under the same tent, that we will be complicit in the next war. That's just my opinion.
Can I just clarify, I'm not against Democrats. I'm against Democratic politicians, because I think Democrats, the average Democrat on the street, agrees more with us than they actually do with their party. And so, but I think many people who have abandoned the anti-war movement since Obama's been president have been Democrats. So, unfortunately, that's the situation that we're in right now. And small arms trade, I was watching a brilliant documentary. It was about, it went back decades ago to Afghanistan and building projects, and then how the US and Soviet Union destabilized it. And this man came to Iraq, you know, after the invasion of Afghanistan. Many people, fighters went to Iraq from Afghanistan because it was, you know, totally destroyed. And it was a noted fighter, not Sadr, who was Iraqi, but I can't think of his name right now. He was holding an American gun. And he said, I got this from the Americans, now I'm going to Iraq to kill Americans with them. And I just like broke down at that point. Because I've often wondered if my son was killed by an American or British weapon, because the British are great arms traders in that part of the world too. And so it's not that we don't give people the right to defend themselves, but we're also giving them the weapons to kill our young people and sending our young people over to kill their young people. So it's just a terrible mess, and Raed has a comment about that.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on the issue of selling arms and sending arms to Iraq and to the region. And AFSC and my organization and many other organizations have been calling for an arms embargo on the Middle East region in general. And you know, some people say, oh, if we stop, Iran will still send the weapons. That might be the case. But there is a way to cut our weapons and negotiate with Iran and other regional and international powers to cut their weapons as well, if there is a will. I don't think there is a will, because there is so much interest in sending more weapons. You know, now we have a new armed equip fund for the Iraqi army for $5.6 billion. Someone is making money out of that, you know. And the other point that I wanted to bring up, in addition to looking at these silos around the world, whether it's Iraq or Syria or Iran or the DPRK or whatever our policies are, thinking about our military spending here at home, that is one of the most disastrous policies that we have in this country. 55% of our discretionary spending, so the money that the Congress decides how to spend every year, 57% of it goes to military spending. So imagine 43% goes to everything else in the discretionary budget: education, transportation, infrastructure, and 57% goes to military spending. We spend more money on the military than any other country in the world. Actually, we spend more money on military more than our 6 or 7 other countries after us combined. So imagine, like, the actual number that we spend on militarism here in the US is mind-boggling. When you think about military spending is around $640 billion, a year. But when you actually add up all of the other things that are not classified under military spending, including our veteran affairs spending, that that we're spending money on veteran affairs because of wars. It didn't happen because of natural disaster. And if you add it up, all of it, in addition to the interest or share of interest on national debt, our national security budget annually adds up to $1 trillion. $1 trillion that we're spending on wars. Not only that, we're actually increasing that. So at the time of budgetary cuts now, where since 2011 the US has cut $85 billion to domestic human needs, programs that we actually need at home. Military spending had nothing, no cuts. Last year, cuts for military spending were less than 1%. Because they were supposed to get an equal cut, like a $54 billion cut, but they get all the money sent back through backdoor spending and slush funds. So with all of this, now we're discussing increasing military spending by an extra tens of billions of dollars this year. So it doesn't seem like it's directly connected to war with Iran or with Iraq or with Syria, but it's something that we should all keep an eye out on. Because when we have this much money spent on the military, we will find a bad guy out there. Or we will make one to justify spending money.
Yes, Brian.
Yeah, I just want to say in a minute, so we can go back to the others, what Raed was saying, or they'll make one. Right now, the United States is carrying out massive war exercises in Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, just hundreds of yards, hundreds of yards from the Russian border, and the Putin government activated internal military exercises inside of Russia, and the U.S. State Department just denounced them for aggression. They're carrying out war exercises in response to war exercises in Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, which were former Soviet republics. And unless we are we have to also pay attention to what's going on, because when the United States focuses on the demonizing of Russia and carrying out policies that are designed to create a new conflict with Russia, which cannot but otherwise create a conflict with Russia, when you take over Ukraine, Russia's most historic and largest ally and the second largest non-Russian republic in the USSR, and turn that into a military base where its new leadership says our main goal is to enter NATO. They have unemployment, they have poverty, but the main goal is to enter NATO. That means we are entering a new stage. We have entered a new stage in terms of the danger of actual, truly global conflict. And of course, there's different sectors that benefit. The arms race benefits, the right-wing Republicans benefit, there's a lot of political lobbies benefit. The danger of this, in fact, on a global level, is greater than everything that's happened before it. And the recklessness with which the Obama administration has engaged in this is something that we in the anti-war movement also have to really pay very careful attention to.
Yes, hi, I'm Elizabeth Murray. I just wanted to mention that I learned a couple of weeks ago when I participated in a demonstration in front of Lockheed Martin in Sunnyvale, California, that Lockheed Martin is the world's greatest purveyor of nuclear missiles. They manufacture the Trident nuclear missiles that arm our submarines. They also make the Hellfire missiles that are used against mainly women and children and through drones in countries like Yemen and Pakistan and Afghanistan. Jim Haber was actually there with our group. We staged a big protest in front of Sunnyvale. I leafleted to employees of Lockheed Martin and actually used up all my leaflets, informing them of what they were doing. And we even did a little dance that we learned, those of us who have been to Jeju. We did a protest dance. That is also a place where American nuclear missiles are going to be stationed at the port that's being built in Jeju as part of the U.S. Pivot toward Asia. But I also wanted to just mention that this protest in Sunnyvale was the first time that I was arrested and sent to jail. So we all have to start somewhere, and I would recommend more actions directly in front of these Beltway bandits that are making a killing off of the bodies of innocent men, women, and children. Thank you.
We're going to take a round of short comments, and then the panel can choose what they want to respond to. This fellow here in the front, and then Ray.
Okay, this is Raed, but everybody, I suppose. You mentioned 5 million Iraqi refugees. Okay. Where are they located? How many are Shia, Sunni, or Sushi? And is there any way to put the genie back into the bottle of Islamic Jihad?
Okay, hold that thought. We'll take a comment from Ray McGovern, and then from Juliana. Just press the button.
This is for Bill. Bill, as many of you know, does a anti-war report every month.
Anti-empire.
Anti-empire, right? And he's been writing books and doing all manner of things. He is notably was one of Hugo Chavez's favorite authors. Since Hugo, rest his soul, advertised having read your book and having been radicalized by it. My question for Bill is, how do you keep going? How do you prepare this excellent monthly report, month after month after month? Do you see, do you get the kind of reaction that keeps you going, or you just keep going anyway?
Well, the portion of your question which is purely personal, that wouldn't serve any purpose in this setting. We could discuss it. I don't mind talking to you about it, but it's not a political thing. Even how I keep going is purely personal. I don't have any other life. That's what it comes down to. That's what I do. But you can talk to me in person about that. Right.
Thank you, Bill. I think we'll go back to have Raed answer the refugee question.
Oh, yeah. So the number is actually not very clear now, because there are many refugees who are two-time refugees and three-time refugees, two-time displaced, three-time and four-time displaced. I mean, a good example is the Christians who were displaced after ISIS took over Mosul. Many of them are originally from Baghdad, and then they were displaced to Mosul, and now they're displaced from Mosul somewhere else. Half of the number, roughly, is for people who are displaced internationally, so international refugees. And the other half is for people internally displaced inside the country. You remember when I talked about how Iraq was demographically mixed before 2003? The number of displaced is almost the same number of people who were mixed. So there were like 1.5 million of Sunnis in the south, around 1 million of Shiites in places that they're not supposed to be in, so it's not, as I said, it's not a coincidence. It wasn't all violence because of some crazy extremists. Some of it was, but it was mainly a very planned campaign for ethnic cleansing. Regarding your question about extremism, I think there are ways to defeat extremism here in the US and abroad.